Okay, so today we're gonna dive into something that's still really, it's really relevant for a lot of people, and that's the long-term effects of COVID-19.
Yeah.
And we've got some interesting sources here, kind of a blend of the expert medical perspective and also the personal stories of people who are living with this.
Right.
So we really want to kind of get a sense of, what is it like to live with long COVID or long haul COVID?
That's really the big question.
Yeah, yeah.
What's interesting to me right off the bat is, the acute phase of COVID has changed for a lot of people. It's a lot milder than it used to be. But long-haul COVID is still causing really serious problems for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And sometimes lasting organ damage as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And to really kind of bring that home, I think, Remy Tac's story, which we have here in the sources, is a really good example. She got COVID way back in September 2020.
Wow.
So we're talking almost 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And she's still dealing with things like breathing problems, body pain, finger
12
pain.
years later.
Yeah. It's not a short-term thing for some people.
No, it really isn't. And she even mentions that she still needs to use an inhaler.
Yeah.
So that really gives you an idea of just how much it can affect the respiratory system.
Right. So, we've got Remy's story, which is really highlighting how persistent it can be. But we also have this medical perspective that is spelled out really well by Dr. Ashur Lahar. He's an internal medicine specialist. And he points out that, yeah, maybe the acute phase isn't as bad anymore for a lot of folks, but you can still have long-term or long-haul COVID that causes really serious long-term damage to your organs.
That's a really crucial point because even though the initial illness might not be as severe for many people,
Right.
the impact on the body can be just as serious, and it can last for a really long time.
Right.
It's not just a couple of weeks of feeling a bit under the weather.
Yeah.
We're talking about potentially months or even years of health issues.
And that brings us to the question of, how do you even treat something like that? The sources all point to this idea of a multidisciplinary approach because of how many different systems in the body it can affect.
Right.
So what does that even look like? I mean, in practice, what is a multidisciplinary approach to treating long-haul COVID?
Well, the thing is, long-haul COVID isn't really focused on one part of the body.
Right.
It's not like you just have respiratory problems or just neurological problems or just heart problems. You can have all of them.
Yeah.
You can have brain fog. You can have cardiovascular issues. You can have chronic pain all at the same time.
Right.
So you need a whole team of specialists working together.
So it's not just going to your GP and they're going to be able to fix everything.
No, not at all.
Okay.
You might need a pulmonologist for your breathing problems, a neurologist for the brain fog, a cardiologist for any heart issues, maybe a pain specialist, and probably even a mental health professional to help you deal with the emotional side of having a chronic illness.
Yeah, makes sense.
And the important thing is that all these specialists talk to each other and coordinate their treatments to address each individual's specific needs, because everyone's experience with long-haul COVID is going to be slightly different.
And that's where it gets really, really complex, right? Because it's not just a one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly.
But, beyond the health challenges that people are facing, it's really inspiring to see how people are adapting and finding ways to live with long COVID. And Remy's story actually continues here in a really interesting way. About a year after she got COVID, she started running.
Oh, wow.
And not just, casual jogging. She's doing 5Ks and 10Ks.
Really?
Which is incredible considering she's still dealing with breathing difficulties.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And she even says that running has helped her to feel a sense of normalcy again.
Right.
And to find peace, which I think is really powerful.
It really is, and it shows how resilient people can be. They find ways to cope and even thrive despite having these long-term health issues.
And it's not just about the physical benefits of exercise.
Right.
The sources also point out that she's able to hold down a full-time job, stay active, and manage her daily life, all while still experiencing these symptoms.
It really highlights the spectrum of experiences with long COVID.
Yeah.
Some people have it really bad and they can't work or even do basic things.
Right.
But then you have people like Remy who find ways to manage their symptoms and still live their lives.
It's not one single experience.
No, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
And Remy herself makes a really important point in the sources. She emphasizes the importance of recognizing the lasting effects of COVID.
Yeah.
It's not something that just goes away for everyone, and her experience really shows how the pandemic is still affecting people long after that initial illness.
It raises an important question about how we as a society support people like Remy.
Yeah.
If people are still having these health issues years later, what does that mean for our healthcare system, for workplaces, for public awareness? We need to recognize that long COVID is a real and ongoing problem so that people can get the understanding and support they need.
So looking at all of this together, what would you say are the key takeaways for our listeners about the realities of long COVID?
Well, I think there are a few really important things to remember. First, long COVID is a real and serious condition. It's not just in people's heads.
Yeah.
It can cause a wide range of symptoms, and it can lead to lasting damage in the body.
Hmm.
And second, because it's so complex and affects so many different parts of the body, you often need a team of specialists to manage it properly.
So we're talking cardiologists, neurologists, pulmonologists, all kinds of different doctors.
Exactly.
Okay.
Third, despite all the challenges, people with long COVID are incredibly resilient.
Yeah.
They're finding ways to adapt, cope, and maintain their quality of life.
Remy's a great example of that.
She really is. And finally, it's so important that we as a society acknowledge and recognize the long-term consequences of COVID-19.
Yeah, we can't just pretend it's over. Exactly. It's still affecting people, and it's going to continue to affect people for a long time.
So it's really interesting, looking at everything we've talked about today, we've got this kind of two-sided picture, right?
Yeah.
On the one hand, we've got the really difficult reality of living with long COVID with all these persistent symptoms and the potential for serious health problems.
Right.
But on the other hand, we also see this incredible resilience and adaptability in people like Remy, who are figuring out how to live with this condition and still live full lives.
Absolutely. And it makes you think about what we need to do as a society to support these people.
Yeah.
What kind of changes do we need to make in our healthcare system and our workplaces to make sure they get the help they need, not just now, but in the years to come?
So that's something for everyone listening to think about.
Yeah, it's a big question, but it's one we need to start addressing now.
Because this isn't going away anytime soon.
No, it's not. And the more we understand about long COVID and the challenges people are facing, the better equipped we'll be to help them.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
It's been a great discussion.
Absolutely. And to all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.